Hello and welcome to this week's Market Pulse. I've got with me Adrian again, who's joining us for a really special and slightly different Market Pulse this week. So rather than just picking 3 random stories from the week, we've actually settled on a theme. And with Wimbledon, with the Formula One this weekend, with the Ashes, and the Open next week, we thought what better timing than now to run a theme around sport. And Adrian is our in-house sports expert, being an ex-semi-professional athlete himself. So who better to talk us through our 3 stories of the week? So Adrian, what is interesting in the world of sport at the moment?
Yeah, thanks for having me, first of all. Sports are interesting by design. But if we think about sports, most of us, we think about a pretty narrow definition, which is you're either an athlete or a fan. In reality, the sport universe is a lot more complex, and investors are basically starting to notice. We've seen a lot of celebrities lately taking interest in the sport universe. Of course, Ryan Reynolds has been the most publicized one because he's a very savvy investor, and we just learned this past week he took a stake in the Formula One, Alpine Formula One team, which comes after the Wrexham FC hit, in which they invested in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. And it's not just Ryan Reynolds. There's Matthew McConaughey owning a soccer MLS team, Austin FC. There's Dwayne Johnson making investments in XFC, which is the spring league of the NFL. XFL, I meant XFL. There's significantly buzz about sport investing and team sport investing, but in reality, we need to be careful because applying a blanket investment strategy for this sports theme is quite dangerous because there are winners and there are losers. So it's more nuanced a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it is quite unique, and I think that's why we thought it was such an interesting topic to talk through today, because it isn't just future cash flows. There is community and there's history and emotion and passion and all these things that you often don't see in a financial asset. But there are some publicly listed sports teams, aren't there? So Man United being a good example of them amongst many. And so you can get a stake in these things, but I suppose should you is the open question.
Yeah, I mean, if history is any guide, you shouldn't. But
not financial advice, by the way.
Yes, this is do your own homework, people. But it's very hard to detach yourself emotionally if you're a fan of a particular team. So if you take the Manchester United example, which is one of the most famous team franchises in the world, and if you look at the last 4 or 5 years, the cumulative losses are close to £300 million. Since IPO in 2012, the shares have done almost nothing until late last year, when there's speculation that the owners are willing to sell, so the shares have popped a little bit. And it's just not. It's not just Manchester United. If you look at Juventus in Italy, since IPO, the shares are down 40-50%. Yeah, if you look at Borussia Dortmund in Germany, since IPO, the performance has been similar, down 30-40%. It's the same story with Benfica Lisbon. The only team that is been doing relatively better is Ajax Amsterdam, with the shares being ahead of the market since IPO until 2019. But then COVID hit and the shares lost half of their values and are yet to recover. So to some extent, it's not surprising because these businesses are very much dependent on the outcomes of the competitions. And if you look at UEFA Champions League, for example, if you go ahead and win the competition, it can be a significant revenue driver. I think it's up to 85 million euros that you can get. So for Manchester United, it would add 12% to their top line and supposedly take them from red to green at the bottom of their P&L. And it's even more important for small clubs, because if you get to win the Champions League, and you're set for a long time going forward. And then the second thing is the owners of these teams, which in most cases, not all, but in most cases, they are wealthy individuals or organizations which are not so much interested in the financial outcomes, and they value more the intangibles, being able to win, and at any cost, basically. So if you're a fan, probably if history is any guide, it would have been better to buy the tickets and go and enjoy the games than invest in the shares of your favorite team.
Moving on to another sport, though, tennis, and what a fitting week with the final on Sunday this week. But there is actually a financial asset at the heart of the Wimbledon story, which some people know if you're a big tennis fan, but actually quite a few people might not know at all, which is debentures, Wimbledon debentures. So you've been digging into that a little bit this week. So we thought it'd be an interesting topic to explore.
Yes, because I didn't know about it, and I always wanted to get tickets to Wimbledon, and I was never able to. So it's an interesting product because it's a financial product. It's regulated by the FCA, but there are obviously there are some significant cash outlays, but there are no cash inflow. And instead of those cash outflows, you basically getting free tickets. And if you look at the 2021, 2025 debentures for Center Court, they were sold initially for £80,000, which is a big number. But if you work out the math, it comes down to somewhere around 1,300 per ticket per day for Center Court over 5 years.
No small change there.
True. But if you wanted to buy the ticket yesterday for the quarterfinals, it would set you back around 3,300. So there is there is an opportunity there for people who have the money to make these outlays, because what's interesting about Wimbledon is they allow you to trade these products. So if you cannot go to a game on one day, you can just put it on their website and you can sell it. And you can sell the whole product. If you're not happy after 2 or 3 years, or you need the money back, you can get rid of it. And the 80,000 debenture that we were talking about, the latest transaction in March was for 130,000, 140,000. So, the lucky owner got to enjoy 2 years of games and then make a handsome return. No pun intended at the end.
So, we've been looking broadly across sport, but actually there's an area which some people do call it sport, some people don't. I mean, I'm personally a massive Formula One fan, and this is something Lando Norris has been getting involved a lot in, which is eSports. So, I mean, this seems to be an area as well, which is absolutely booming. So, I mean, what are the financial implications and, the investable implications?
Yeah. With every thematic investment, you have winners, you have losers, and it's really important to kind of see where the power lies in the ecosystem. Esports, we had some internal debates if we should include it in our sport thematic piece, because some people call it sports, some people call it games, but
they're not offensive.
The truth is that the International Olympic Committee has looked at it at least once in the past, and they considered introducing esports into the Olympics. So it's a small industry relatively today. Its latest market estimate is of $1.4 billion, but it's growing really fast. Like you said, it's growing 10 to 20% annum. And what's interesting is that in the past, when it was a smaller industry, it was all the organizers who would get a bigger slice of this pie, because they would put together the teams, the venues, they would organize the events, they would bring in the game producers, and they would monetize the advertisements and the TV rights and so on. But as the industry grew, the game publishers realized that this is an important revenue stream for them, so they're getting more and more involved, and they're trying to take these competitions inside and manage them themselves. So when we look at eSport investment opportunity, the first question we ask is who owns the IP of the games, and because we know that's where the true power lies, and those companies are going to be successful in the long term.
Superb. Well, thank you again for joining us this week. We really hope you like the slight twist on format, so please do get in touch with us. Let us know whether it works for you, or whether you prefer the original one. Drop us a social media message or an email or whatever it may be, and hope to see you here next week.